The calluses on my hands were real, not theater, not affectation. They'd split and bled during my first week on site, raw from hauling rebar in August heat. Now they were thick, mapped with ridges like topography, each ridge a story I hadn't planned to live. To the world, I was Leo Miller, 34, single, journeyman laborer on the Apex, Chicago's newest glass and steel monument to human arrogance. To Vanessa, I was her project, a rugged diamond she could polish for her social ascent. And to myself, I was a ghost haunting my own empire. I never meant for it to last this long. It began as penance. After my father died, heart attack on a site tour, hard hat still in hand, I inherited Titan Construction at 28. Overnight, I went from drafting sustainable floor plans in a Brooklyn loft to signing billion-dollar contracts in boardrooms where silence cost more than words. People stopped calling me Leo. It was Mr. Thorne, or Sir, or worse, the Visionary, as if I weren't flesh and bone but a brand. So 2 years ago, I vanished. Not literally. I walked onto the Apex site in worn Carhartts, steel toes scuffed, ID badge reading Miller, L. HR had processed Leo Miller as a temp hire. Clean background, no red flags. They wouldn't find any. I'd scrub the alias myself. My only rule, no interference. I do the work, listen, learn. A week, I told myself. Maybe 10 days. Then I met Vanessa at O'Malley's. She was leaning against the bar in a crimson dress that cost more than my weekly wages, arguing with the bartender about the provenance of the whiskey. "It's not peaty," she insisted, voice sharp as broken glass. "It's smoky. There's a difference." I laughed, genuinely, and she turned, eyes narrowing like she'd caught me eavesdropping. "You find that funny?" she asked. "No," I said, "but I find it brave. Most people just nod and pretend." That made her smile. Really smile. And just like that, I was hooked. I told her I poured concrete, that I liked the weight of it, the way it started liquid and became bone. She called it poetic. Later, over watered-down beer, she asked where I was from. I said, Peoria. Close enough to true. My father grew up there, though I'd been raised in Manhattan penthouses and Swiss boarding schools. She latched onto the fiction like it was salvation. "You're so grounded," she sighed one night, tracing the scar on my knuckle, from a college rugby match, not a bar fight. "My world is all surface. You're real." If only she knew. For months, it worked. She dragged me to charity galas disguised as casual mixers, coaching me on which fork to use, how to pronounce hors d'oeuvres. I played along, biting my tongue when her friends asked if I had ever met anyone important. "Nah," I'd shrug, "just folks who show up on time." Vanessa would squeeze my hand under the table, part pride, part warning. But the cracks came fast. "You can't wear that," she snapped one evening, flicking drywall dust off my jacket before a dinner at her friend Sarah's. We were at Bistro Lumiere, a place where the bread cost $12 and the waiters wore cufflinks. Mike Anders took his wife to the new fusion spot on the river. He's a foreman. "I like it here," I said, watching her over my water glass. Her eyes darted to the couple at the next table, Sarah and her hedge fund husband, already smirking. "You like it because it's cheap. I'm tired of cheap, Leo. Tired of explaining why my fiancé smells like cement." The word fiancé used to warm me. Now it felt like a leash. On site, it wasn't much better. Carl Jensen, the foreman, a bull-necked relic with breath like rancid meat, had it out for me from day one. "Move faster, Miller. You think this is nap time?" He'd bark while the others shuffled away, avoiding my gaze. All except Derek. Derek was young, slick, always flashing a grin that didn't reach his eyes. He'd clap my shoulder, say things like, "Hang in there, brother. Not all of us got dealt a royal flush." At first, I thought he was just cocky. Then I noticed how his eyes lingered on Vanessa's photo in my locker, how he'd ask too casually, "How's the lady? Still slumming it with you?" I should have seen it coming. The day it happened, I'd left early with a fake migraine. The truth was, I couldn't stomach another hour of Carl's taunts. Rain had started, light and cold. I cut through the alley behind the site, planning to grab a sandwich and disappear into the library for a few hours. That's when I saw it. Vanessa's silver Audi idling near the loading dock, and Derek, still in his high-vis vest, leaning into the driver window. Their kiss wasn't tentative. It was familiar, hungry, like they'd done it 100 times. I stood frozen in the rain, the stone in my gut turning to ice. It wasn't just betrayal, it was confirmation. I wasn't just beneath her, I was invisible, replaceable. That night, I confronted her in her condo. She didn't cry, didn't flinch, just crossed her arms and said, "He has prospects, Leo. He's talking to upper management. He's going places. You are just going back to the site tomorrow. Sign the papers, let's not make this ugly." I signed, without a word. The next weeks were hell. Carl doubled down, assigning me the worst shifts, the heaviest loads. Derek strutted around like he owned the place, whispering to coworkers, laughing too loud. Once, he accidentally knocked my lunch pail into a puddle. "Oops," he grinned. "Chin up, buddy. Plenty of fish in the sea." I wanted to break his jaw, but that wouldn't prove anything. It would just confirm their view, that I was a brute, not a man. So I swallowed it, all of it. Until the library. I started going after shifts, seeking quiet. The old granite building smelled of paper and lemon oil, a sanctuary from the city's roar. That's when I met Ilara. She was shelving books in the architecture section when I wandered in, still in my work clothes, rain dripping from my hair. She didn't stare, didn't flinch at the grime on my boots, just nodded and said, "Byzantine or Gothic today?" I blinked. "How'd you know I was looking?" She said, "You've got that look, like you're searching for something that lasts." Her name was Ilara Chen, community outreach librarian. She ran literacy programs for homeless teens, curated a books for builders shelf, and remembered every patron's favorite genre. When I asked for something on Roman aqueducts, she brought me 3 books and a coffee. Black, no sugar. "How'd you know?" I asked. "You strike me as a no-frills kind of guy, but not unkind." We talked for an hour. About engineering, yes, but also about poetry, about how cities forget their caretakers, about the quiet courage of showing up every day. She never asked what I did, she asked what I'd believed. I believe buildings should serve people, not just impress them. Her eyes, warm honey in afternoon light, lit up. "Finally," she said, "someone who gets it." With her, I didn't have to perform. I was just Leo, quiet, observant, a little weary. She never once called me handsome or rugged, but she'd bring me a new book each visit, leave it on the reading desk with a note. "Thought you'd like the chapter on arches. E."
Meanwhile, Vanessa finalized our split, took the assets of Leo Miller, my truck, my savings account, a carefully maintained fiction, and moved in with Derek. Rumor had it he'd been promoted to site supervisor. "Must have powerful friends," Carl joked one morning, winking at me. The final straw came on a Friday in November. Rain slashed sideways, turning the site to mud. Carl stormed over, face purple. "Miller, where are the Makita drill bits? Bay 3 says they're missing." "I haven't been near Bay 3 all week," I said. "Liar!" he roared. "Empty your locker, now." Before I could react, he yanked open my locker and dumped everything into a puddle. My thermos, my gloves, the photo of my father and me at my first site groundbreaking, and Ilara's bookmark, a dried violet she'd pressed between pages of Siddhartha. The crew gathered, silent. Derek leaned against a beam, smirking. "Thief," someone muttered. Carl loomed over me, spittle flying. "Get off my site, you worthless—" That's when I stopped listening. I looked at my father's photo, face down in the mud, looked at Derek's gloating expression, felt the rain on my neck like a baptism, and I made a decision. I pulled my phone, a prototype Titan device, matte black, not yet released, from my pocket, pressed one button. "Marcus," I said, voice low but clear. "It's Leo. I'm at the Apex. Yes, now." 3 minutes later, 4 black SUVs rolled through the site gates. Men in dark suits emerged with umbrellas. Marcus, my OCO, my oldest friend, hurried toward me, face grim. "Sir," he handed me a charcoal overcoat. "Your car is ready." I shrugged it on. The fabric alone cost more than Carl's annual salary. "Carl Jensen," I said, turning to him. "Employee ID 33482, hired by Regional Manager Vance in 2018. 2 written warnings for safety violations, 1 pending investigation for materials mismanagement." His face went slack. I turned to Derek. Derek Shaw, promoted last week via personal recommendation to Manager Vance. "Your engineering degree? Forged. HR flagged it last month." Derek paled. "How?" I ignored him. "The theft allegation is false. Security footage from Bay 4 confirms I was in the East Elevator Bank all morning. You're both fired, effective immediately. Security will escort you off-site." Then I faced the crew, man I'd worked beside for months. "For the rest of you, hazard bonus, paid week off, starting now." As I walked toward the lead SUV, I paused, looked back at Derek, trembling in the rain. "Oh, and give Vanessa a message. Tell her the poor construction worker sends his regards, and that the prenup she signed, the one she thought was a joke, it's binding. She gets nothing." The silence that followed was louder than any storm.